I think he'll join us in the course of time. Meanwhile, we'll contact him. Okay,
Okay.
you
Yeah.
guys go ahead.
So hi everyone, welcome to the Experiential Learning Conclave 2021 with the core values of explore, engage and express. So today happens to be World Youth Skills Day, and it is celebrated every year on the 15th of July. And it is meant to spread awareness about the acquisition of technical and vocational training and education to foster the development of the skills and experience that is required for various fields of education as well as careers. And I think that the date completely resonates with the theme of the webinar which we have today, which is experiential learning. And today we have esteemed panelists from different parts of the world here with us today to enlighten us on the same topic. So before we begin, I would like to ask you all to drop in on the chat box any emoji or short word, any one word to describe how you're feeling right now. Are you feeling excited? Or maybe it's been a long day. Are you feeling tired or anything? Can we have a chat storm, please? Okay, I can see a miscellany of reactions. Okay, a lot of people are happy, excited, pumped, confused, tired but excited, smiles. Okay, that's great. I would say it's okay to be tired. I mean, it's been a long day, but I can see a lot of us are excited and happy. So I am really excited and exuberant to welcome you all officially to this webinar. And that excitement is the spirit which we need to begin. So before we officially start, I would like you all to ponder upon the following questions. Have you ever felt tired and monotonous from reading the same content repeatedly in your textbooks? And have you ever found your mind drifting away from class, wondering what it would be like to start or work in an actual company? And have you ever questioned how those theoretical concepts you learned at school and how the quadratic formula or the timelines and history that you learn will ever help you when you are running after employers? If any of these questions has ever entered your mind, then experiential learning is the answer to your searching queries. As young minds, we have a hunger for knowledge and exploration. But most of the time, the learning imparted from school textbooks and college textbooks, in fact, also, does not suffice the skill set and knowledge requirement to encounter the real world. Soft skills like communication, creativity, critical thinking, and collaboration, or in other words, the 4 C's of the 21st century skills, can only be learned through experience. And that's what experiential learning is all about. Global Shala's bequest is to organize one-of-a-kind webinars to provide opportunities to learn about the same. We take pride in providing a platform with a sundry of opportunities to individuals seeking lifelong experiential learning. Learning by doing is getting popular worldwide and is increasingly elevating the skills of the working population. Experiential learning is the future of education, where participants explore, engage, and express by hands-on experiences and reflections. As you can see on the screen, we are an experiential learning platform equipping students and educators with 21st century skills through lifelong learning opportunities, including internships, competitions, and so much more like courses and everything. And today we are going to go into the details about experiential learning. And as I mentioned before as well, we have highly honorable and highly accomplished, successful, established panelists from different parts of the world with us today. And we are so honored that they have taken out the time to be with us here today and to enlighten us with their knowledge. So moving ahead, let us now meet our panelists. Over to you, Sivaranjani.
Like Ruchika mentioned, we have three highly qualified panelists with us today, all of whom are renowned subject matter experts in their fields. First, we have Ms. Myra Singletary, an energetic and dynamic professional with over 28 years of comprehensive experience in student retention, enrollment management, and college admissions. She has a proven track record for effectively cultivating professional relationships and has an excellent rapport with internal and external education stakeholders and organizations. She is also recognized for long-term work in areas of multicultural admissions and support of first-generation college students. We are so pleased to have you here today with us, ma'am.
Thank
Next
you.
up, we have Next up, we have Dr. Gangadharan KV, a professor in mechanical engineering and head of the Center for System Design, president in Institute of Innovation Council, National Institute of Technology, Karnataka, India. He is also actively engaged in creating learning materials for experiential learning of basic concepts in engineering. He has teaching and research experience of 27 years and industrial experience of 1 year. He is actively engaged in industrial consultancy and has sponsored research projects and has more than 120 research publications to his credit. He has filed 7 patents, 4 in the area of medical devices and 3 in the area of smart material application. We are so honored to have you here with us today, sir. Finally, we have Dr. B.V. Babu. He is an acknowledged researcher and renowned academician and has 36 years of teaching, research, consultancy, and administrative experience so far. He is well known internationally for his algorithm mode, which is multi-objective differential evolution, and its improved variants. We are so pleased to have all of you here with us today, and we can't wait to listen to what you have to say to us. Our first panelist for the day is going to be Ms. Myra, and she is going to talk about the general understanding of experiential learning and its overview of domains. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And so as an educator working in college admissions, as well as in student retention for the last 30 years, I've supported and mentored countless domestic and international students pursuing either their graduate or undergraduate degrees, right? No matter the college or university, no matter the field of study, the one thing that has remained constant is the power of experiential learning. Experiential learning provides students with the opportunity to obtain real world experience and a deeper understanding of the intricacies of their chosen profession. You learn more about the day-to-day expectations, challenges, and rewards that go beyond the theoretical classroom construct of any given particular industry. In my experience, it has been critical in providing students with the understanding if this career is really right for them. Just as crucial, experiential learning, like internships, form the foundation from which lasting careers can emerge. And so what is experiential learning? Well, it is the process of learning by doing, as we have already heard, right? By engaging students in hands-on experiences and reflections. They are better able to connect the theories and knowledge that they're learning in the classroom to real world situations. It describes a continuum of activities, as we see here, that on one end include classroom exercises that resemble real life, and on the other end, it involves learning through doing beyond the classroom. Next slide. So these are just some examples of experiential learning. You have like those opportunities within the classroom, like case studies, simulations, role-playing, lab experiences. And a lot of those things are something that you are particularly have done in school already. But then beyond the classroom, you have clinical rotations and assistantships, co-ops, internships, and residencies. And so those are really important opportunities for students to pursue and convey. So next slide. So here I'm just talking about what are the overall benefits of any kind of experiential learning opportunity, whether it be internships or some of the other ones that are out there. Of course, a better understanding of the course material, insight into your own skills, your interests, your passions, your values. You learn so much about yourself in an internship. You know, you're challenged, you're learning new things, you're meeting new people, right? And you know, that opportunity to collaborate with diverse organizations and diverse people from around the world, I think is just paramount to your success. It provides professional practices and skill sets. It helps students develop interpersonal skills, self-confidence, and leadership skills. But also students will become proficient in the platforms that we're using every day in organizations, especially on the virtual field, such as Skype, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and Slack. And that was a new one for me, and I'm very excited to kind of get to learn a little bit more about it. As I talk to some of our students and hear about some of our students at Global Shala, Another benefit that I've learned about is that how students are meeting fellow students who either are in the graduate program they're going into or undergraduate program they're going into or about to begin the same program or begin at the same university. So they're connecting with each other, sharing information, sharing resources about dorms, work opportunities, and getting advice about their new home that they're going to be going to in just a few weeks or months. Another point that I really wanted to emphasize is that internships are not just for the realm of science or in the realm of business, but they can be in any kind of field, in any kind of organization. Yes, they can be corporations, but they also can be nonprofit organizations, think tanks, advocacy groups, and agencies. There are numerous opportunities from everyone from in the media, arts, education, data science, international relations, environment, healthcare, and so many more. And one of the things that we're seeing time and time again for students who are really on the cutting edge is that they are engaged and involved in numerous internships over the course of their academic career. Next slide. As I was preparing for this, I was looking at this particular quote from Albert Einstein: the only source of knowledge is experience, right? And we're just wanting to encourage you and reiterate that point that the internships and experiences can help professionals, can help students really develop professional skills and competencies needed to be competitive in the 21st century workplace. That is crucial. So professional experience prior to college graduation is becoming increasingly important as the job market becomes more and more competitive. Employers and graduate programs value the training that internships provide. In 2019, 80% of employers viewed recruiting as the primary function of internships. So that's where they're going to be able to get those individuals that will hopefully later serve as employees for their company. And I think that explains why 61% of college graduates who were offered a job immediately following coursework had internship experience, likely because these programs provide job experience, new skills, mentorship, and networking. Many companies will not even consider applicants who do not have work experience or at least volunteer experience in a given field. These statistics illustrate the importance of an internship as part of graduate or undergraduate studies. But just imagine, what if high school students really were engaged in this kind of professional experience as a part of their educational journey? These students would be entering their undergraduate programs better informed, with greater clarity on the direction of their educational journey, and with the skills and experiences already acquired, they would have a distinct advantage over their peers. Next slide. So while high school internships are not yet commonplace, not yet, such opportunities for those students who engage in them today, especially high school students, can really help to set them apart from their peers in the college admissions rate or in scholarship competitions. Having spent decades in college admissions, I know firsthand that these sorts of students are seen to be highly motivated candidates, willing to work hard, and prepared to face challenges. Today's job market is incredibly competitive, as we all know, and with the rise of the global economy, it will only become worse. There are countless ways to get a jump on the competition, if you will, and one of those ways is to start early, gain skills, experience, and a professional network while you're still in high school or early in your college or graduate education career. Next slide. And the last point that I wanted to make, just to provide this introduction to our time today, is that virtual internships are not new. In many fields that rely on remote work, virtual interns complete tasks from home, connect with supervisors and team members via email, video chat, or other remote work technologies. These interns are still strengthening career focused skills and building their networks, but just not in person. These virtual interns provide employers the opportunity to draw from talent from interns from around the globe and not just one specific geographic region where they're located. From the student perspective, virtual internships can allow you the chance to work collaboratively with scholars from other countries, from different walks of life, different points of view, and gain cross-cultural and international competencies. Those organizations that use project-based team models mimic the workplace and prepare students for the expectations of colleges, universities, and employers. You learn how to leverage the strengths of individual team members, learn how to meet deadlines and joint objectives promptly. To discuss further experiential learning, we will now hear from Dr. Ganga.
Yeah, shall I start? So very pleasant good evening if you are this part of the world, and maybe good morning if you are the other part of the hemisphere. So I cannot invite you to my institute today, and you can have a virtual tour. Go through our v2.natk.ac.in. That will give you the glimpse of our institute, wherein how we are and what we do, all that. And we hope to become a carbon neutral institute within a short period from now. And we have been doing a great lot of things towards that. Today, I thought of introducing one mode of experiential learning, which is online experiential learning. Thank you, Mayra, who have given ample opportunity to explore what all it means by experiential learning. And she was also really mentioned about all the facets of experiential learning. In that, I thought I will make you experience what is experiential learning. All that comes on online platform. So let us see how we go forward and see it as such. I'm sure those who are from India or otherwise have seen some of these pictures when you are forced to do online classes. My teacher told me about VC and AD in this way. And when I talk about the same thing to my son, he says this. He is talking about before COVID and after COVID, maybe the short period as during COVID. During this time, both teachers and learners have been putting themselves into trouble with whatever resources they have to do online teaching and learning. Now, in this place, how do we put online experiential learning is the question which I thought of asking. I'm sure you agree with me, the ape has moved to a new ape. Thank God it was a man. I forgot to clothe him. And I have no problem in putting the arrow mark in this direction. But when it comes to my next picture, I'm not sure how to put my arrow. Did we move from ape to Facebook, or Facebook, we are going back to ape? So due to that confusion, I put arrows on both sides. So let us look at what is that experiential learning we are talking about. I'm going to admit all of you for a 3-year course on cycling. And I will teach you everything from the textbook and make you derive the equations and make sure that everything required to make a cycle, probably break a cycle, and to do a cycling as such will be taught from the book. And after 3 years, I will give you a beautiful certificate saying that you are a diploma in cycling or degree in cycling, etc. I know all of you are laughing at me. Yes, most of the time, that's what we are doing in the normal education system. Be it swimming or cycling, we make them read the subject rather than do the subject. So let us do the subject or the topic rather than read the subject or read the subject or the topic. So that's what we are trying out. And how do we do it in online is a question which I would like to ask. Do you remember this guru? I know all of you are so happy with these gurus. And the dhyana we have is this way. And our young friends are so happy with likes and loves they get. Now, let us get into the same mode to do experiential learning. So, what comes to your mind when you talk about experiential learning? Doing by hand, doing by yourself. These are the things which comes to mind. It could be art, it could be science, it could be engineering, or it could be any topic. It could be even a corporate communication. All that, doing by hand, doing by experiencing it is what it comes. Then be ready for this. If you are doing by hand, you should be ready for this. Else, get into the dumb box called computer and start doing. Let us see, is it possible to do using computer and online media? How do we make experiential learning possible? So I want all of you to dream. My students always tell me, sir, we always dream, even in the class. Yes, they do that. But unfortunately, the teachers cannot dream in the class. So let us dream. And let us put the dream together in such a way that we have three stakeholders, the administrators, professors, and the student. And the topic for dreaming, teaching and learning. What is this? You told me to dream and asking us to dream about such a dry topic. Anyway, let us do that because Global Shala is looking at teaching and learning. Hence, let us look at dreaming about teaching and learning from all the three perspectives. I want to learn experientially at my place, and that too, I want to do it at my pace, and it should be at my period. Okay, midnight, 12 o'clock. I want to get an experiential learning. Don't ask me what. So I want learning at my place, experiential learning at my place, my pace. If I am a quick learner, I want to do too many things together. If I am a slow learner without being noticed by others, I want to do it repeatedly and make sure that I get it right. And I may be Rakshasa who is active at the midnight, or I may be an early bird, Brahma Muhurta, early morning I get up and want to read or want to do the learning. I should be able to do that. So this is one part of my dream on experiential learning. And I want my lab or the experiential learning module to be, I should be able to carry with me. I should be able to take home the lab. So, and I don't need a lock and key. All the teachers will shout at me now. We know the laboratory, even with the lock and key, how difficult it is to maintain. And I don't want, in my dream, I don't want experiential learning to have a holiday. The answer for all this, for an Indian context, if you want to experience, it was created by Ministry of Education called Virtual Lab. So, which provides you an opportunity to look at, this is specifically for science, technology, and related, physics, chemistry, all that, plus engineering background. But this gives you a feel of how do we look at experiential learning online. So I'll just give you one demo so that we'll not waste much of a time and how it looked like. I'm getting into my laboratory and I want to do an actual lab at this time. Remember now in Indian condition, our labs are closed. And I'm looking at a very simple experiment because I know it is a very heterogeneous group. I want this simple pendulum to be triggered. And I want to see this simple pendulum. Look at the left side. You should see a video there. And it's an actual feed from my lab. I'm going to trigger this experiment. Let me see whether if the internal conditions are safe and good, it should trigger. Okay. So I'm sitting at my home now, and my lab is in NITK Surathkal. I have triggered a simple experiment. I wanted to know how much is the time period, how it is moving, and how much time it takes to come to rest. And with that, I will be able to find out many of the things from this experiment. And depending on how we are doing it, I want to change the parameter. Let me just change the parameter a bit. So this is length. I want to change it to the higher length. Okay. Let me see whether I can do that. Change the length. I'll just enlarge this video. And you can just look at this green position where I'm just keeping the arrow mark. Just look at the arrow. So I'm changing one parameter in an experiment. Okay. So I have changed the length of the pendulum. Now I'm curious to see what happens when the pendulum length is changed. And those who have seen grandfather's clock where a pendulum was there, I mean, nowadays, I don't know, the 2K generations, I don't think you might have seen a simple pendulum, I mean, pendulum clock, unless and otherwise you have gone to a museum. So if that it is running fast, what do you do? If it is running slow, what do you do? So how do I make my learner experience it? Is this way, I have increased the length of the pendulum. I'll just trigger it again. So you can see when it is moving, or those who are from arts and other creative area, you can look at it as swing of in a garden, and you are changing the swing length and trying to find out what really happens if the swing length is changed. So I'll get then the second data. You see data 1 and data 2. We give the provision for downloading the data and do all the calculations like what you do in a normal laboratory. So this is the actual experiment made available to a learner at his or her time, that is a period, and pace. Suppose if I want to do it 3-4 times, we should be able to do. And if you want to do it at whatever place you want, you should be able to do this. And as always, India is known for giving things free, and we provide this without any even login. Remember, you are coming to my lab, using my equipment, and making sure I have to make sure that whatever sense and nonsense you do should not trouble my lab. You should not switch on something and go. So all that is taken care and made available to the learning community. So this is one way of looking at experiential learning. Now, the same, probably I can also look at an experiential learning in present day situation, because our first year students could not even see the institute because we have not yet started, but 1 year is almost over. Now assume that I am allowing them to get into my lab. This is one of the lab, strength of materials. Don't worry about what lab it is, etc. So I can just go in, and if you are on a I can just go to one experiment. This is the experiment. I can move around. I can move from here. I can go around the lab, see what is there, all that I can do. And I have a simulator here, which is made on web application, then a Lekhupada, a small talking tutorial, because present day generation would like to plug their ears and listen to that rather than reading. So let us go in the same way and tell them, look, this is how it is. And if they need a visual feast, we also have provided a video. So we have a simulator which mimic a practical experiment in a mathematical environment. And we have a Lekhupada which tells what it is and how to do it and what you need to conclude or infer from the activity. And also an actual experiment which is shown and explained in a video. So all this put together is our virtual lab. So this way, we may be able to communicate much better and make the learner experience what is the topic which we cover. And so this is one way of doing experiential learning. I'm sure that our other panelists will have much more to add and more dimension to this, because I thought of explaining one concept of feeling the subject, experiencing the subject by demonstrating an remote laboratory which you can operate. So with this, let me just go back to my PPT. Yeah. So we, from here, providing a very immersive experience of a laboratory, we can move on to, I can take it to the next level, wherein the experimental setup are created in a virtual reality environment. And the same thing, the headsets were provided by paper cuttings or laser cutting the papers, like a Google cardboard kind of a setup. So we send this, everybody has a mobile set, put this mobile set and just run the laboratory in a virtual environment. You will be able to get a virtual reality feel of an experiential learning component which we have made. I just given you a demonstration. With that, no, instead of asking for questions, now I should thank and ask the next speaker to speak, and then at the end we will have our question and answer. Thank you very much for the question listening, and over to Professor Babu.
Okay, Professor Babu, I'll be sharing the screen.
Yeah. Thank you very much. At the outset, I would like to thank the organizers of Global Shala for giving me this opportunity to interact with the young minds and present about the experiential learning. So I will share my own presentation. Is it okay?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'll be talking on the experiential learning through outcome-based education, OBE. Mahatma Gandhi said, nature provides enough to satisfy everyone's needs, but not everyone's greed. I would like to relate it subsequently, when I talk about the human values and ethics. The way forward, I'll give a brief introduction about the topic. I'll talk about experiential learning and outcome-based education, universal human values and ethics, curriculum design, incorporating all the above three, and integrating of experiential learning with outcome-based education, incorporating universal human values and ethics in curriculum design. And finally, I'll conclude. See, the purpose of education is not preparing students for jobs as generally perceived, but preparing the students for life. And the objective of education is not imparting knowledge, because knowledge is dynamic and just click of a mouse button away as and when it is required, but to inculcate the thinking capabilities with logical, analytical, and soft skills. So the focus should be more on making the students think rather than rutting the knowledge component. That's why I always insist that the programs are to be designed in such a way the knowledge component should be at the minimum, and the more weightage is to be given for logical, analytical, and soft skills, and also to universal human values. Because all said and done, as I mentioned earlier, you have to prepare the students for life, not for jobs, because profession is a very small part of life. There are many dimensions that are important in life, and hence we need to give equal importance to human values and ethics as well. And as we all know, as per our new education policy also of the government of India, there is a paradigm shift from knowledge-based education learning to value-based experiential education and learning. Given an unknown situation, the learner must be in a position to look at that unknown situation from all possible perspectives, analyze that situation, and reach a logical conclusion, be it at the personal level or at professional level. For that, if a knowledge component is required, which the student has not learned, it's only click of a mouse button away. It may take 5 minutes, it may take 10 minutes, it may take a month, or it may take 2 months, but knowledge is available as and when it is required. And hence, I again insist that in the education, the knowledge component has to be kept at minimum, but more importance has to be given for logical, analytical, and soft skills, and with human values and ethics. Again, the role of a teacher also has changed dramatically. The conventional teaching learning process is one-way, monotonous, teacher-centric, and listening-based learning. But the modern teaching learning process is two-way, participative and interactive with diverse student groups, student-centric, and experiential learning. So, role of a teacher is not just teaching anymore. He has to be a facilitator for enabling the student to experiential learning and making him think by being a friend, philosopher, and guide. What is experiential learning? Already my previous speakers have mentioned about that, but quickly I'll go through that. The process of learning through experience and is more narrowly defined as learning through reflection on doing. Hands-on learning can be a form of experiential learning, but does not necessarily involve students reflecting on their product. It is distinct from rote or didactic learning, in which the learner plays a comparatively passive role. It is related to, but not synonymous with, other forms of active learning, such as action learning, adventure learning, free choice learning, cooperative learning, service learning, and situated learning. And of course, it has 8 parts actually, starting from initiating, experiencing, imagining, reflecting, analyzing, thinking, deciding, and acting. These are the 8 components of experiential learning. Now, let me talk about outcome-based education. I will not go into the details of this because it's a very big subject, but then outcome-based education is all about starting from vision and mission statements of a university or a school, and vision and mission statements of a department, graduate attributes when you talk about the higher education, program educational objectives, program outcomes and program specific outcomes, and course outcomes. They all should be in sync and mapped for every program that is offered in an education system. It can be applied to even school system as well. And whatever outcomes are measured, they should be through student evaluation and surveys. See, if you look at the conventional education system, we'll say for this program, these are the courses to be studied. But students do not know why they are asked to study that course. That's why actually there should be course outcomes. By doing this course, these are the outcomes. And these are mapped with the program outcomes. If you're doing, let us say, a BSc or a BCom, or if you're doing a 10th standard in a school system, okay, you're asked to do certain courses. Okay, each course has got outcomes. Similarly, the program of 10th standard also should have some outcomes. And the program should have some educational objectives. And then there should be some attributes. So by completing this 10th standard with these course outcomes, with these program outcomes, these are the program educational objectives which will be met. Then the student is clear why he has been asked to do a particular course. And not only that, it should be in sync with even vision and mission statements of the school, if it is a school system, or the vision and mission statements of a university. They all should be in total sync. Bloom's taxonomy is very important because I will not go into the details, but it has got 2 dimensions. One is cognitive process dimension, having remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. Most of the components which it talked about in experiential learning definition also. And similarly, the other dimension is knowledge dimension, which has got factual, conceptual, procedural, and metacognitive. So these are the details of that. That means a total of 24 combinations, 6 levels of cognitive process dimension and 4 levels of knowledge dimension. That means 24 combinations are possible. If you make a matrix of it, it looks something like this. Remember factual, remember conceptual, remember procedural, remember metacognitive, like that. Understand all the 4, apply with all the 4, analyze with all the 4, evaluate with all the 4, and create with all the 4. So if you divide this entire matrix into 4 parts, you have a lower level consisting of factual, conceptual with remember, understand, apply, and significant level 2 parts, procedural, metacognitive with the above 3, and factual, conceptual with below 3. They come under significant level or medium level, and the high level is procedural, metacognitive, including that analyze, evaluate, and create. Okay, I think I hope the Global Shala will share the presentation. You can go through that at your leisure time, but then I will not go into the details. But basically, I want to explain this Bloom's taxonomy has to be understood in both teaching, learning, and evaluation processes. Okay. And what are the priority areas in education system? Encouraging academic excellence, developing programs for awareness of the newly emerging areas of technology and growth, promoting interdisciplinary skills, which is very important, inculcating ethics and values, encouraging creativity and innovativeness, and cultivating managerial skills. These are the usual priority areas in higher education sphere, but I think this can be equally applied to even school system and other degrees as well. So these are the details. Maybe you can go through the details at your leisure. So graduate attributes, program educational objectives, program outcomes, program specific outcomes, course outcomes have to be specified for a program. And the graduate attributes generally, as per the Washington Accord, which are applicable for engineering program, but I found it equally applicable for any program, even to the school system, only tweaking of a few words. Let us say for an engineering program, it will be engineering knowledge, one of the components. For medical students, it is medical knowledge. For school students, it's a knowledge, and problem analysis, design and development of solutions, conducting investigations of complex problems, modern tool usage, the connect with the society, environment and sustainability, ethics, individual and teamwork, communication skills, project management and finance, and lifelong learning. These are the important components of a graduate attribute. That means if somebody wants to claim himself to be a graduate, these are the attributes which he should have. As you can see, the knowledge component is only 1/10. The rest of the things are making him, feel that experiential learning through thinking, logical skills, analytical skills, and concluding skills. And these are the mapping of PUOs with POs and PSOs. And here again, as I mentioned, 3 levels. So if you look at one of the first semester courses of a engineering program in a university, you will have, these are the 9 courses, and these are the 10 program outcomes. The graduate attributes itself is the program outcomes. And as you can see, each course is mapped with these program outcomes at different levels, 3rd level, 2nd level, and top level. 1 is low, 2 is significant, and 3 is high. So that means each course should be meeting at least 1 or 2 of the program program outcomes at certain level. Now there are 2 ways of measurement of these POs, PSOs, and COs: direct measurement and indirect measurement. Direct measurement is done through quizzes, assignments, seminars, group discussions or group tasks, midterm examination and end-term examination. And indirect measurement is done through the surveys of the stakeholders through questionnaires, And let us come to the universal human values and ethics. The importance of universal human values and ethics is connecting at 3 levels: self, family and society, and nature. An extension of this universal human values and ethics to technology should include 4 orders of nature, 5 dimensions of human order, and 9 feelings. As I mentioned earlier, Mahatma Gandhi already said that nature has enough to take care of, the entire humanity. But then when the human beings started thinking that they can dominate the nature, we have come up with so many innovations, so many technological advancements, but we have to question at what cost? That is at the cost of damaging the nature. This is because we lost the connect with ourselves, we lost the connect with the society, we lost the connect with the nature, and it is very important. Now, if you look at this body designed by the greatest of the engineers, some people call God, some people call energy, some people call something else, whatever name it is, that's not important. But then this is a beautifully designed system. Whatever we take in, it is completely digested, and whatever little that comes out of this body is totally biodegradable. And this body, starting from the brain, to the digestive system, to the feet, it has everything within. You have electronics, you have computer engineering, you have mechanical engineering, you have chemical engineering, you have physics, chemistry, everything happening within the system. Can't we learn from this? How do we learn? We learn when we understand ourselves. So the self-understanding is the topmost important thing which one has to involve in, because You're not your body. You're not your mind. Though body, mind, and soul are part of a human being, but you're not that, because body is built by taking the things from the nature and it will go back to the nature. Mind is basically the collection of so many thoughts, getting influence starting from the parents and by the society. So remove the body, remove the mind, what remains is what you are. That is the soul. So, and the soul here is no different from the soul in some other person. They're all part of the same thing. That means the nature. So unless and until you understand yourself, you understand the connect of the self to society, and you understand the connect of the self to the nature, it will not be possible to have that experiential learning at all. It's not the bookish experiential learning which is important. The students have to really be aware of what the soul is, what he is. The very fact that each one of us exists with flesh and body is an indication that each one of us has a specific role to play in the larger gamut of things. You need to understand that. That's what is the experiential learning all about, according to me. You have to experience what you are. You have to experience your connect with the society. You have to experience your connect with the nature. Then you are a learned person. You are an educated person. Having a degree doesn't make you an educated person, doesn't make you a learned person. Having this awareness and connect is what makes you a learned person. And of course, the studies for obtaining a degree should not dictate your future. Let us say I studied chemical engineering for 4 years. That should not dictate that I should live and die as a chemical engineer. In the process of doing chemical engineering, if I understood my interest lies in somewhere else, why not? And hence the program should have a lot of flexibilities, and outcome-based education will provide that. That's why I mentioned in the beginning, the knowledge component of chemical engineering should be minimum, not more than 30 to 35%. Rest of the 70 to 65 to 70% has to be, giving more flexibilities, more options, and focus more on thinking capabilities, analytical skills, and other areas of interest, be it music, or be it acting. Why not? Sachin Tendulkar would have been a cricketer, had he not lived his passion. He is no less than any software engineer who is earning a lot by working in US. Isn't that? So you have to understand what you are, what your passion is, and live that passion. For that, this experience is important. And the 4 orders of nature I mentioned, one is bio order, physical order, animal order, and human order. Bio order deals with plants and trees. Physical order deals with soil, metal, etc. Animal order, animals, birds, etc. And human order, human beings. There is a connect among all these things. And 5 dimensions of human order are education, that is sanskar, health, that is self-regulation, production, that whatever work you want to do, justice, the preservation of the sources, the sustenance of energy and environment, exchange, the storage. How do you store that without wasting that? These are the 5 dimensions. And 9 feelings in relationship, whether it is with yourself or with the society or with the nature. At the top level, the trust, that is the foundation value, viswas, respect, that is samman, affection, that is sneh, care, that is mamta, guidance, vatsalya, reverence, shraddha, glory, gaurav, gratitude, kritajnata, love, prem, that complete value. These 9 feelings also are important. That means when the student learn and when they want to apply that, they should keep in mind these 4 orders, not affecting any of them, whatever they develop, whatever they use, these 5 dimensions, and these 9 feelings. Then that makes him a learner with a lot of experience, experiential learning. Curriculum design, it's not the course contents and courses as generally believed. It's actually the entire educational philosophy, the purpose of education, positioning. learning outcomes, as I mentioned, the structure and sequence of learning, that learning, teaching, and assessment strategies, discipline, research, employers, society, then what are the resources that are required? What are the policies to be made in order to make that person a learned person? The characteristics, the diversity of the students. In fact, this is another important aspect. I would like to spend half a minute on this. Is generally we should have a diverse of students in a classroom teaching, because diversity, what I meant by diversity is diversity based on gender, diversity based on race, color, class, rich or poor, different communities. Because when the students from different backgrounds come and sit in a classroom to learn something, they come with their own perspective, depending upon the upbringing, because of their economic condition, because of their social condition, they have their own perspective. Each perspective is invaluable. As a teacher, when I used to teach 600 students in a class, in larger classrooms at BITS Pilani, I used to find when I teach a concept, some of the questions that come up with one particular section of society of the students is really mind-blowing, totally unexpected. So we can, even teachers can learn from the students of diversity, oh, this can be taught from this perspective as well. That's an experiential learning. You learn from the others. The kind of learning that happens when you have a diverse population with their own perspectives when they bring in is just, mind-blowing. So the diversity is very important, the characteristics of the students. And of course, the resources for the students also is important. And of course, benchmarking is another important aspect. In fact, generally 70% of the total program should match with best of the institutions. Maybe you can pick up 4 or 5 international and maybe 2 or 3 national level, and then see what they're doing, adopt blindly what 70% of that. But remaining 30% should be individualistic to that particular school or to that particular university. If somebody wants to get that 30%, they should go to that university. That benchmarking, and then the individual characteristic of the university, maybe it's the geographical advantage, whatever it is, that should also be taken into account. And of course, the various models are there in curriculum design: lecture-based learning, resource-based learning, mastery-based learning, problem-based learning, project-centered learning, work-based learning, self-directed learning. If you look at these things also, lecture-based learning is only with the knowledge component, but rest of the things are experiential learning, And these are the explanations of these individual things. I will not go through that. You can go through the slides later. And of course, experiential learning can be done through project-based learning, through study-oriented projects, special projects, lab-oriented projects, and computer-based projects, either as an individual or as a group. Research-based learning with scenario-based approach, industry internships-based learning, which Global Shala is doing, blended learning through massive online open source courses, ICT tools, lecture capture kind of things, and others like NPTEL, MHRD pedagogy, virtual instrumentation, digital smart books, so on and so forth. And we have to integrate this experiential learning with outcome-based education and incorporate universal human values and ethics in the entire curriculum design. And finally, I'll conclude. There is a paradigm shift from knowledge-based learning to value-based experiential learning in education at all 3 levels: primary, secondary, and higher education. Outcome-based education is the key and internationally proven learning methodology for quality assurance in education and should be implemented in toto. Bloom's taxonomy principles need to be utilized in teaching, learning, evaluation systems, methodologies, and processes. Benchmarking is essential for global standard curriculum design. All the stakeholders, direct and indirect, views and inputs are to be considered in all aspects associated with learning in education system. And a paradigm shift is needed from conventional one-way, monotonous teacher-centric learning to two-way, participative, interactive, experiential, project-based and research-based, student-centric learning without losing focus on universal human values and ethics. And these are the references which I have used for making this presentation. And finally, some thoughts. Everything in this world has limitations at physical level, and science and technology have greatest of limitations. We always try to explain everything within the framework of cause and effect theory using time and space as dimensions. Because of this, the effect is going to be this at this time with these three dimensions. That's what we do in all the aspects of learning. But then absolute truth is beyond the frameworks and beyond the dimensions. There are innumerable frameworks and infinite dimensions which human mind cannot perceive. So you have to go beyond the body and mind to have that absolute truth experience, and then you're at bliss. Absolute truth is beyond all the frameworks and dimensions, and learning is no exception. That brings me to the questions, if you have any. I think the organizers will collect the questions and then ask most probably. And I'll thank the organizers once again for giving me this excellent opportunity of interacting with young minds. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor Babu and Professor Gangadharan, as well as Myra ma'am. Thank you so much. That was such an enlightening experience, I'm sure, and everyone definitely has a new perspective now. From the informative and edifying words of Myra ma'am to the virtual tour which baffled all of us by Dr. Ganga, and then finally the erudite and philosophical insights which were provided by Dr. Babu. Wow, that was amazing, so enlightening, and we have learned so much. I'm sure everyone has. We have so much introspection to do after this session, so much reflection. But a true interaction is never over without a question answer session. And so now we will open the floor to questions and answers. So attendees in the meeting, if you have any questions that you would like to ask our panelists, you can drop them down in the chat box. And meanwhile, as we collect the questions, we have gathered some questions from our team as well, from our organization. So we have a question that is, if experiential learning is rooted in reality, then what are the qualities it should primarily promote?
I mean, I think one of the things that we've talked about today, a lot of is like it should promote self-discovery. It should promote like some of those sort of 21st century skills that we hear so much about. It's not just learning about the content. That's something that you can get from a MOOC. That's something you can get from a class or going on the internet. But that internal discovery, developing critical thinking skills, your creativity, your ability to analyze and synthesize information, right? Collaboration. I think one of the things that we've all talked about is, especially having like sort of a global perspective. And that's one of the things that virtual internships can really give you, is that you're connecting with people from different walks of life who think of something totally that you would not think of. That is the strength of team and a team-based approach, is that you're bringing and you're learning about the great art of compromise. And I think that's also one of the strengths of experiential learning, because when you're working in teams, it can get a little crazy. You've got to compromise. You've got to figure out who's going to take the lead, who's going to take charge. If you're in a team, and this has happened in academic settings and work settings, maybe there's this alpha female who wants to take charge. There's so much, sort of depth of knowledge that you can learn in your experiences. I think that's one of the things that really is first and foremost is in experiential learning, you really get all those things.
Okay, may I add a few more points?
Sure.
So when we tried out in the class, 180 students, we have tried this, and we saw that their higher order skills were improved. Rather than remember and reproduce, to using the understanding to solve problems. And some of the links which I had put in the chat box, the YouTube links, was to tell you that we just asked an open-ended question and said to the people who have experienced the experiential learning, then we saw that they are all putting together their understanding and trying to find a solution to a problem. So my take is experiential learning make you part of the solution. Presently, many of us are part of the problem.
Yeah, I would like to add one more thing regarding this. May I?
Please, sir.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the most important quality, that is required for the experiential learning is the openness. You should have an open mind and should be equipped with, as Myra mentioned, that logical, critical thinking and analytical skills. I think if you have an open mind and these three skills, I think you are ready for experiential learning. Thank you.
Oh, can I add one last thing? As sort of as a panelist, sort of member of panelists, we were talking about one of the other benefits of experiential learning is that you have that opportunity to make mistakes, right? You often learn the most, not just from your successes, but from your shortcomings, your challenges, your obstacles, and how you learn to process that and overcome it and keep moving forward. And so that's one of the other things that I think, that experiential learning paradigm can be incredibly beneficial to a student and to a learner.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. That was amazing. We had so many different points that was covered. Thank you so much to all the three panelists. We have another question from our team, which is that, is experiential learning inclusive and can it be practiced by specially able students and learners? And I think that's a very interesting question.
May I?
Sure, Professor.
Yeah. See, as you mentioned, I think earlier people used to say they are disabled, but I think you very wisely use the correct word, specially abled. In fact, they are not disabled, they're specially abled. In fact, I found in my experience, the specially able children are more sharper because when certain parts of their body or mind are not in the commonly acceptable level, their entire energies will shift to some other faculty, and hence they are more sharper than the normal persons. Yes, specially able persons also can really have this experiential learning in much more better way in a maybe some certain limited areas of their abilities. But yes, the answer is yes.
In fact, specially abled children can probably have only experiential learning. That is much more closer answer, I believe, because they experience through the available senses which are active, rather than our regular students whom we can bore them by dumping data and make them struggle with the data. And at the end, after the exam, they ask, what did I do? I mean, A plus B all square, they have done memorized 100 times and written. At the end of the day, when they are going selling chocolates after taking an MBA, they ask, why did I struggle A plus B all square and when I'm only selling chocolates? So for especially abled children, the way in which they learn is through experience itself.
The last thing that I wanted to say is that we've been talking a lot about the sort of virtual internship model. And I think that's an area where especially able students will really thrive because they're not going to be impaired or hampered by some of the physical challenges that we would face perhaps in the day-to-day world. But, if we're all on Zoom, we're kind of on a level playing field.
Thank you so much. I think that question was really well answered, and the whole perspective about how, specially able children are, it actually is synonymous that they're actually specially able. I completely agree with that. I think we have a question from Sivaranjani, which we can also take up.
Yes. Recently, experiential learning and self-directed education, things in these fields are upcoming, right? A lot of organizations don't it as well as they should, if that makes sense. So do you think scope for this will increase in a way? I'm not framing it correctly, but so essentially education and experiential learning are up and coming concepts essentially, and a lot of established organizations don't recognize it as well as they should. So when do you think that can be made?
Professor, shall I take the question first? Yeah,
Yeah.
good to get such a question because teachers are they feel they are paid to cover the syllabus, and the students discover it when they are preparing on the last day for the exam. And in fact, we believe we need to make them discover the syllabus. So this mindset of writing exam and getting mark is the ultimate aim of getting into a course or a topic or a class. Once that changes, I think experiential learning comes quite obvious. And because in Indian condition, we produce mass, I mean, we are 130 crore people, and that too, half of them and more than that is below 28. And you can imagine our engineering examination, out of 20 lakh people, we select, I mean, if you look at NADK, we select within the first 30,000 students. You can imagine that number, the ratio of filtration is too high. So for us, it is not selection, it is more elimination. Hence, always we look at an objective number to evaluate and say that this person is 0.0001% better than the other person. So once that comes or we overcome, it will become an automatic way of learning, experiential learning. Quite often the volume is probably one of the obstacle for implementing experiential learning. Second, the teachers are difficult to be taught. So we are so used to something, and hence once a teacher, always a teacher, and we are not willing to change. Hence experimenting with teachers become much more difficult. These are the 2 points. One is the volume for an Indian condition. Second, teachers are difficult to teach. Professor Babu, it is your take now.
Yeah, I think if I understand the question correctly, what Shivaranjani was asking is, experiential learning is relatively a new concept that is coming up. Are the organizations ready to accept the students, with these experiential learning? Am I right, Shivaranjani? That's what your question is?
Yes, essentially that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think certainly yes. See, as I mentioned in my very first slide, the purpose of education is not to prepare the students for jobs. It is to prepare the students for life. Okay. And that's why actually I always emphasized, when I was the vice chancellor of a couple of universities also, I always emphasized that we are not here to satisfy the requirements of the industry. We are preparing the students to think. We are preparing the students to analyze. We are preparing the students to come to a logical conclusion. So whatever problem they face, either in their real life or in their professional life, okay, they're ready. Now it's up to you to mold them to your requirements. Okay, so through experiential learning, they're already equipped to face any challenge of any industry they enter into. Okay, so once the organizations understand this, I think, yes, they will accept, because experiential learning is the ultimate now, for all of us. I think the answer is yes. Organizers have to change, they will change, and they will accept the students with this experiential learning. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
It does, and I hope they change their perspective soon.
They will.
That's all.
They have to. They have no choice. Yes.
Okay, so I think we can come to an end of the question answer round because of the time constraints, right, Ruchika?
Yes, we can come to the conclusion of this webinar. So thank you so much once again to the panelists. And now we can move ahead to the vote of thanks.
So, wow, what a great evening we had today. So it's an honor for us to thank all of you on the behalf of Global Shala. We as a team extend our heartfelt gratitude to Ms. Myra, Dr. Gangadharan, and Dr. Babu for your insights on experiential learning. We have learned about the outcomes of experiential learning, how we can practice it in our lives, experiential learning in STEM subjects, etc. And I'm very sure that all of us benefited profoundly from what you have imparted us today on the theme of experiential learning. Finally, I would also like to express my gratitude to all the STEAM delegates participants in the audience of this webinar for their presence and contribution in making this webinar a success, because without your participation, our efforts would have been gone in vain. So Global Shala itself is an emerging experiential learning platform, and we aim to bridge the gap between real world skills required for jobs and the skills the learners have. So by inculcating the skills which facilitate the lifelong learning, we have different virtual internship opportunities for the students and other learners who want to explore the world of possibilities, hone their professional skills, learn and grow with peers from all around the world. So just to know more, you can visit our website, www.globalshala.com, to know more about these opportunities. And not last but not the least, thank you so much for attending the event today, and hope all of you have an amazing day or evening ahead. Stay safe and healthy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Mayra.
you. This was
Thank
really
you.
nice.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the time and patience.
Good. If the participants are out, can the organizers and the panelists have another 2 minutes?
Sure.
So the organizers, what did you learn?
A lot.
A
Actually.
lot of things.
Look, the problem is, typical teacher, at the end there will be some questions.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I was intrigued by the virtual lab, although I'm not a STEM student anymore, but I feel like as soon as I saw that, I felt the nostalgia of being in a lab. And the philosophical thoughts about the dimensions that Dr. Babu said, I was so enlightened. I would really have to go through the PPT once again, because those were really some very heavy thoughts, which I'll have to introspect on. And Miss Myra, your introduction that you gave to experiential learning, I just knew the basic definition of it, but the way you elaborated on it, I just now understand it better. So thank you so much. Those were my main key learnings, and then I'll be sure to go through all of your PPTs again.
And you have taken a right combination. Maria's introduction, then something I have demonstrated, then we had a philosophical thought. I mean,
Yes,
that
yes,
thing was really good.
Yes, there was something for everybody, you know?
Yeah.
Everybody, yeah.
It broadened
After
our
this-
thinking horizon. It was very amazing. Like, we are going to think very differently from now on whenever we are going to do anything, not even just to take the course, but as Dr. Babu said, like how we are experiencing our life also, and how every little thing impacts our experience. So it was great.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I thought about, because I'm always very critical, right, in these kinds of events that I'm a part of, and I think about my own, role in them. But I said, I wonder if it would be possible in the next iteration of this event to have someone talk about what is that experience like, from the person who's done a virtual internship, who's done, some sort of experiential learning, to talk about what it feels like. How are you challenged? What did you learn from it? And so you're getting more of a feel, right? And a more of understanding on a more personal level about why those opportunities are so valuable.
Yes, I completely agree with you.
I think all of us here in Global Shala can speak something about it, because all we have been doing ever since we joined here as interns and reaching to the employee level, reaching to the level of leaders, we have been learning and experiencing so many things, be it emotions, be it experiences, be it other values that we are inculcating in ourselves. It has been a whole other experience. That's another level of experiential learning, and I can say that for everyone, I guess.
Yes,
Across
absolutely.
Global Shala.
I was thinking the same thing actually while Myra ma'am was saying that I have learned more in this internship maybe than I have learned in my entire, I think, 13 years of education. I knew all the theoretical concepts, but for the first time I was exposed to professional environment, and as a facilitator I had to interact with people